please don't make it happen. But it is revisiting it with a new sense. So think of it as you're not revisiting it as the same person that you were. Aloha everyone, this is Kaylani from the Wild Wahine, and I have your astro forecast for this upcoming week. We have a lot of activation surrounding Mercury and Venus. Hi Nibbles, thanks for joining. Yay. So we have a lot of things that are happening, and I want to talk a little bit about it and give you just a little bit more information about what's going on with our Mercury retrograde. So hopefully you have seen my infographic here. Oh, thanks for all the hearts. Hopefully you've seen my infographic on Instagram and also taken a look at it. I have it posted also on Facebook, where I'm going to post this, and it's also going to go up on YouTube. But I have an infographic that tells you all about where this Mercury retrograde is hitting you. And what house specifically. Now you do need your rising sign for that, for you to take a look at it and look at what your rising sign is, and it's going to tell you where the focus of this retrograde is happening. So I want to talk a little bit about the Mercury retrograde, just because you'll hear so much about it and you're going to see a lot of memes and they're going to be funny, and I just wanted to go a little bit in it and tell you the difference of what's happening. Hey Circa, thanks for joining. The difference of I was thinking about you too. So look at that Pisces rising sign when I was writing them all out yesterday. So think a little bit about what I wanted to talk a little bit about is how these upcoming Mercury retrogrades, which are all going to be in air signs, unlike, hey Genevieve, oh my gosh, it's like all my girls. Aloha, yay! And we have an Aquarius in the house. Yes. I'm so excited about that. So yeah, back to Mercury retrograde and how it's going to be different this year than it was at least last year, because all the Mercury retrogrades, hey sweetie, were in water signs, which is why we had so much heaviness, with 2020. We had the heaviness obviously because Pluto and Saturn and Jupiter were all sitting in Capricorn, and that's rough, and it felt very depressive. And then emotionally, all of the retrogrades were in water, so we were feeling all of the feelings, and it was we were like big vessels holding all of that energy and holding all of that sadness essentially. So with the Mercury retrogrades happening this year in all of the air signs, starting with Aquarius this month, which started on January 30th, we're actually going to be processing how we're going to work through all of those emotions. What is it that we need to do? How do we activate? How do we use everything that we learned from last year and all of the ups and downs and some of the things that worked and some of the things that didn't? How are we going to use our minds to really focus on solving these problems and coming up with a solution? And Aquarian energy really is about that. It is about collectivist energy in a sense. It's very individualistic, as anybody who knows who has Aquarian energy. They need their space. I need to have my own thing here that's going on. Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, I do care about everybody, and I want to make sure everybody's okay. So it's kind of like I'm going on the alien ship because I need to do that for myself, but I'm inviting you guys to come along. You don't have to come along, but if you'd like to come along because there's enough here for all of us. So that's the real beauty of what's going on with this. And so essentially, whatever was happening in your life for the last 2 weeks, starting on, let me get my date, January 14th or January 15th, depending upon where you are in the world. The last 2 weeks, all the way up until the end of January, we're going to be revisiting those times with this retrograde, because that's what retrograde is all about. It's all about kind of going back and fixing things that we didn't get a chance to fix, or things that slipped through the cracks, or things that we were kind of lazy about, or we didn't really do well on, missed opportunities that we had. It also might be putting the nail in the coffin of something, it keeps coming back, like Dracula, and it's just didn't he get that stake in his heart? Putting down Dracula, or Jason, or whatever the little, the movie monster is, okay, I'm sealing this up, and I'm putting this back to where it needs to go, so that I can move forward, and like move forward with my mind intact, with knowing what I'm doing, and with being a lot clearer, because the emotions are being processed through the body and processed through the mind. Yes, exactly. Wear comfortable shoes. Yes. So that's what's going to be kind of important. So just think about those things that happen. Think about those people. If you had people in situations that you were dealing with, some of those things you might be revisiting, and just you're like, I don't want to. I know. And depending upon where it is in your chart, some people are going to be like, okay, I can. And then some folks are going to be like, no, please don't make it happen. But it is revisiting it with a new sense. So think of it as you're not revisiting it as the same person that you were. You're going this time with like different glasses, not necessarily rose colored, but you have different tools. I know. So many of us don't. And it's interesting because and we'll talk about this next week, even what's happening in the world, even politically, like, with impeachment, like we're going back to that time and what happened. Like, we're going to see this kind of shift. It doesn't mean we're living it though. It just means that maybe we're discussing it. Maybe we're kind of thinking about, we're taking those things and then we're moving them forward, and so we're stepping out, being a different person. We're not stepping out in the same way. It gives us the opportunity to just take those loose ends and tie them up, which we need to do. And it's beautiful because we essentially have 3 times a year that we kind of sort of get to just do the nitty gritty everyday stuff that we need to do so we can move on in our lives. The stuff that we've been saying that we've been wanting to do that we haven't done, we can kind of sort of put that together and do it. So I think it's a good thing, even though it might be difficult in a lot of ways. It's still going to be something that on the out end of it, you're going to feel much better when you move past that. So that's something that's important to know. And so then today we have Venus moving into the sign of Aquarius. So really this month is big Aquarius energy. And if you're a fixed sign, meaning if you're an Aquarian, if you are a Leo, if you're a Scorpio, and if you're a Taurus, I always skip Taurus, I don't know why. Fixed signs are really activated this year, so you're going to feel it. But anybody that has Aquarius signatures are deeply going to feel this, because we essentially have an Aquarius stellium, which is a whole bunch of planets in the sign of Aquarius. So it's just kind of going to be a weird time period. And that's kind of, and I hate to use the word weird. Oh, good. Yes, you absolutely can do this. This month, and I probably should have started off saying that, but this month is an actual really interesting kind of month, because we have a lot of really beautiful signatures that are happening, especially the 13th and the 14th around Valentine's Day. We're going to have some really beautiful energy. I think Jupiter is going to be sneaking into the sign of, not really sneaking, but going into Pisces where it's exalted. So that's our good luck benefic planet. So we do have a little bit of a, we're getting through this retrograde, and we do have Saturn squaring Uranus, going exact, and that happens 3 times this year. So we are going to get a little bit of a bump and an interruption. But like I said, this year is kind of peaks and valleys. So when it's good, it's really, really good. And when it's bad, it's kind of bad and it doesn't feel so good. But then we'll snap back up out of it, as opposed to 2020, which was just kill me now. At least that's how I felt. It was really, really heavy. Hey Tracy, thanks for joining. So yeah, so that was kind of really intense energy, but now we're going to have a little bit more flowy energy. And also we just walk through fire, so we can do this. It's like nothing that we're coming up across this year are we going to say I can't handle, because look at what we handled. So we're looking at, we have different tools now, and we also saw what we did when we were our backs were up against the wall, and how we can move forward. So that's going to be important. So with Venus and what's happening this week with Venus into the sign of Aquarius, which a lot of people are Venus and Aquarius, that's kind of weird, because Venus is such a loving planet, and it's about relationships and bringing people together and being close and tactile. And Aquarius is kind of I need freedom, I need space, I need my own. But Venus does know how to love in an air sign, because Libra is ruled by Venus. So think of it more as love being shown in a mind way, as opposed to like a way that is like the tangible, atypical way that you would show love. So that means like loving in a different way. It could mean like having a long distance relationship, or it could mean things where you're distant from somebody, but it's still like stable. It's a stable environment, because remember, Aquarius is a fixed sign, and it does like to be in a place where it feels comfortable and where it feels, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I really, really love it. And so, it's all about like loving someone, or learning to love, or learning to work in partnership, because Venus isn't just about love and relationships. A lot of it has to do with like partnerships. So it can mean business partnership. It can mean like who you're working with. It can be your family unit and how that's working together, making sure everybody has enough space to individually do their thing. And sometimes it means loving someone in a different way than what you would think. So it just is the way that you love a person that supports them in a unique way that looks different. And so I use like this analogy of like Valentine's Day, right? And it's kind of interesting that Valentine's Day falls in the sign of Aquarius, because Aquarius isn't necessarily known. Sometimes it's a little hard sometimes in relationships with Aquarians, just because it does have such a strong sense of individuality, but also the collectiveness, right? So you know how everybody's like, okay, I'm gonna get you like cards and chocolate and then this and that, and they sell the bunnies and all those kinds of sort of things, right? So those are all kinds of things that we can buy. We can buy them at the local store or whatever. And it doesn't necessarily mean something, but the way that like Aquarius loves, or the energy or the archetype of Aquarius is like, okay, I want to get you something that you really, really want, something that's really going to help you out. I'm going to like hire somebody to clean your house for a month, because that's going to allow you to work on your book that you really want to do, as opposed to like chocolates and going out or whatever. So it's not about like frivolity. It's about like the deep loving that you have for someone, and the deep connection, and how you can really like support them, and how you can think about really supporting them. And so it's that kind of love. And so that's like kind of the energy that's happening as, but also as we have our, you know, plus side, we also have like our shadow side. So there is this quality, as there always is, to like a, you know, like, yes, yes, love, no, 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 love, yes, yes, love, no, 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 love. Or like kind of like if you go to the hotel, it's like, do not disturb. Okay, I'm open, do not disturb. It's like you can come in. So there sometimes can be that push pull where you're just not all the time sure where the energy is, or where you stand. Sometimes that also is something that can happen. But think of it as love coming from friendship. It could be also, if we're talking about romantic love, finding love in friendships, finding love through community. Like that's another thing that can happen. That's really interesting and something that's like important. So the other two things I want to talk about, two different aspects that we have this week that are coming up, that are going to be like really important for us, and two things for us to focus on, is Venus conjunct Saturn, and also Venus square Uranus. And again, when we talk about Venus, we talk about art, we're talking about relationships, some that are romantic, or they can be friendships, or people that are close to you, partnerships, business, all of those things kind of fall under the area of Venus. And Venus in Aquarius, of course, conjunct Saturn. So when we talk about that, and I love these analogies, I've been doing these analogies where I've been doing like movie analogies for these aspects. So if I were to say like Venus conjunct Saturn, I would say that it reminds me, you guys are going to laugh, of Bridgerton. And I don't know if you guys have seen that or watched it or whatever, like the hot guy and stuff in there, and everybody's watched it because it's like the #1 show on Netflix. But essentially it's like these two folks that like were trying to come together, or really initially didn't come together, or they didn't come together well. They didn't really love each other at first. They were actually maybe a little bit repulsed, but through the various like comings together in different ways, they fall in love, and they kind of sort of get over. Oh, you Circa, of course you watched it twice, Jeremy. Yes. This is cracking me up. Of course you guys watched it twice. I know you guys. It was like twice, 3 times. So that kind of like love and finding love, but through struggle, through things that kind of like growing pains in relationship. So some of the kind of like positive parts of it can be loyalty and staying loyal to a person, being long time loyal to somebody, because we have Saturn is like that planet that like it suggests longevity when things grow old, when things get old and even decrepit to that point, you know. And a lot of times people are like, no, I like youth and I like newness, but you kind of want that sometimes in your relationships. Like, this is a business partnership that's going to last a long time. This is a relationship that's going to last a long time, but it means, you know, for things to last a long time, they go through a lot of things. So it's like, what are all of the things that you need to do to get through all those peaks and valleys in your relationships and with everybody? And so sometimes that means like having really good boundaries. Like, these are the things that I like, these are the things that I don't like. It could be organizing your relationship, like setting up times if everybody's busy and there's a lot of stuff going on. When are we having date night? When are we going to have our planning meeting? When are we going to have family time together? When are we going to be really conscious and set things straight? It's not really a flying by the seat of your pants kind of energy. It could be going into business with your partner or with a love partner that you have, a romantic partner. It could be starting up a business with them. It could be like maybe starting up a business or being inspired by an older mentor, because sometimes Saturn represents that kind of like older person in your life. It's about kind of sometimes like the unsexy parts of relationships or business, which is like, you know, we're not getting along and this isn't working and we need help. Like, we need counseling. We need to go to HR, you know, to work this out with my manager and my workers. Like, how are we going to problem solve and make this work? Because it's not working. And it's all about like the work that you do to work together to get to where you need to go. It can be sometimes in the negative sense about being hypercritical, you know, like hypercritical in the relationship, focusing too much on things that don't matter, you know, on things that maybe you're extra sensitive about, that potentially you could maybe you know, get some work around, because maybe it's not the partner's fault. So those are kind of the shadowy aspects of it. It could be about like just distance, about people who just kind of come in and they like, hey, good morning, you know, have their dinner, read their book, go to bed, and then do their own thing. It's couples that like haven't connected but need to be able to find that way to reconnect so that they can have that, you know, relationship that they want, and maybe potentially take it to the next level or continue to connect. So when we have, and so that, like I said, that is happening from the 2nd of February 2nd to February 8th. That whole period, we're going to be feeling that energy, but it is perfecting on the 5th. With Venus squaring Uranus, which is like our funky, kind of surprising, disrupting, weird kind of planet, that's happening on the 3rd of February all the way to the 9th. So we're going to feel it from that period of time, but it's perfecting or going exact, or it comes to a point on the 6th. So, and remember, Venus, as we talk about this, Venus is trying to harmonize these two energies, the things that represent Saturn, which is structure and tradition and how things are supposed to go, and like the way that it's supposed to be done, and it needs to be done a certain way, it needs to be looked a certain way. It's a much more conservative, structured based way. And then you have Uranus, who's coming in there, that's like, I'm just fucking everything up, and I'm just going to do how I want to do things, and I'm just going to like kind of juggle everything and surprise, you know, and then who knows what's going to happen, and I'm going to like steam up your love life and all of those kinds of things. That energy is also coming too. So it's like, how do I like coalesce these two things together? So if I were to describe in movie form, Venus squaring Uranus, what would that look like? So I say it reminds me a lot like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I don't know if you guys ever saw that movie, or like Secretary. Like it's being attracted to things that are strange, things that are weird, things that are surprising, things that are different, things that are kind of like your freak flag, you know, like it's about being attracted to people that are not typically people that you would necessarily be attracted to. And again, this doesn't necessarily have to do with relationships. It could be relationships. It also could be looking at your partner in a different way. Like your partner suddenly does something like physically different with themselves, and then you're like, yes. Oh, yay, I'm so glad. You know, or it could be like, one thing that I had mentioned to a client of mine is it could be like a small sense, like if somebody else like wants your partner, and then you're just like a little bit jealous about that, and you're just like, oh, you know, he's kind of hot, or she's kind of like hot. Like, because there's nothing that's like a little like sexy as like when somebody wants you, you know, and so when you see somebody else like checking out your person and you're like, yeah, they look good, you know, and you get kind of excited about that. So those are things, those little things that can actually like create a spark in your relationship if your relationship was feeling like, okay, we're just kind of sort of going through the motions and we're not really connecting in the way that we used to. It could be a sudden interruption in it. It could be like a whirlwind romance. It could be a fling. It could be like a new person on the job that like suddenly inspires you to do something interesting, or to think of something different, or to organize things in a different way. It can be like, you know, working with an artist or that has like really different avant-garde kind of art, and buying that or supporting them or producing them, you know, because again, Venus has, and Venusian things have a lot to do with art and creativity. So it could be like your creative self, like really saying, you know, I'm tired of these type of roles, or I'm tired of doing this type of art. I really want to like really do what I want to do, and it's kind of weird, and I'm scared what people are going to think, but I'm just going to put it out there and I'm going to do it. So it has a lot to do with that too. Let's see, sudden new relationships. It can be the ending of relationships, or it can be the changing of relationships. It could be adding someone into the relationship. It could be opening yourself up to dating lots of different types of people, or that you never thought of before. Like anything that has to do with that. Like I also think of the movie Her, where Joaquin Phoenix character falls in love with like the AI. Like that is such a like Venus, you know, like it's a Venus Uranus thing. It's like technology. It could be toys. It could be all kinds of things that you're adding to like spice up your relationship. Buy some toys, you know, whatever it is that you want. So like, you know, things to spice, like if you were thinking about like, okay, I just want to like spice things up or do something interesting, or like throw something out there, this is an interesting time to do it, you know. And especially, like I said, it's exacting on the 6th. So unless you guys have any questions, that's it for our Astro chat for this week. I mean, I think that's a lot. We have the Mercury retrograde. We have Venus doing some interesting things. I'm going to come to you guys next week because we have the new moon that's going to be in Aquarius, and that's when we're going to have like so many planets, you know, in Aquarius sitting there, and it's going to be highly activated. So we're going to have some times where we really are going to feel like, wow, this is a great time for us to manifest and to kind of start over with this particular new moon, because we're going through the retrograde and having all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of really like excited for February, because it has like a lot of some surprise, but some really kind of supportive, interesting energy that's happening. So again, if anybody is interested in booking an astrological reading or a tarot reading, you can find me at www.thewildwahine.as.me. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube at The Wild Wahine. If you guys have any questions, you can email me at kaylani@thewildwahine. And thank you ladies so much for joining me today. It was lovely. It's so fun to go live. I should probably do it more often. So have a great, wonderful week, and make sure to check out the infographic about Mercury retrograde on my Facebook and Instagram, and look for your rising sign. If you don't know your rising sign, you can DM me and I will send it to you. I just need your date of birth, your location, and also the time that you were born, and I can send you that information. Aloha, you guys. Have a great week. Bye.